Well, let me jump right to the story then, because I know Bob won't be able to be with us too long. This was my story for the night, just to kick off, because I just thought that what we are doing everything wrong when this is what it looks like. Let me see here. Did it not go? There he goes. We're doing everything wrong when that's what we see. Like, I don't even understand what this, unless she's thrown a Molotov cocktail at a human being or something like that. There's no reason to be restraining a human being for a protest in Australia. This was the headline, protesting, and then again, 250 people protested. So, Bob, do you know the population of Australia? It's upwards of 20 million people that are there. And it says that mounted police used pepper spray in Melbourne to break up crowds of more than 4,000, surging against police lines, while smaller groups of protesters were prevented from congregating in Sydney by a large contingent of riot police. So they've arrested hundreds, that kind of thing. I was just so sort of shocked by this picture that I just stopped. I'm like, okay, they have the cheap surgical paper masks, which are completely useless. They have no PPE on their hands. They're going to put her with other people. I assume the other people don't have masks or anything. So we're just going to throw them all in a big pen together and see how it goes. So what do you think, Bob? How bad is the Australia situation mathematically, cases, death rates? I looked at some of the numbers and I couldn't believe they were this low.
Oh yeah, from the beginning, they really never had a massive problem, much like their neighbors, New Zealand. I don't know. When I look at this, I see a country that's, I would say 85-90% of the country are okay with that. Remember, this is the country about 25 years ago they gave up their guns, right? Mm-hmm. So we actually see the outcome. The people don't mind, for the most part, with the exception of people like the people in this picture, don't mind the authoritarian state there. That's really what I see there.
Alex, what are you thinking?
I'm pretty much on the same path. These people are, I mean, I'm glad to see some of the pushback that's going on right now, and hopefully that will wake up some of the people. But when you have a population that gave, again, what Bob said, gave up their guns, I mean, I'm almost speechless at the same time. Like, that's a lot of people right there, but comparative to the amount of the population, what is the percentage that it takes to actually get the government to abandon what it's doing right now? And I don't know the answer to that, but it's not that high.
Well, they're having less than 1,000 cases a day. I checked the last 5 days. They're averaging between 700 and, let's say, 950 new cases a day. Their death toll has basically been around 3. New Zealand is adding roughly 20, 25, 30 cases a day with no death. That's what we're doing. And this is what we do. We've locked people in their houses, screaming at them from helicopters. Bob, what are some of the other sort of lockdown measures that they've taken? Because this is almost, well, I guess it is as bad as China in some ways. The only difference is, I guess, in China they were welding people into their houses, but it's really not significantly different.
Well, you know, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a animal shelter.
Oh, that's my next story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, in essence, to keep people from coming to get these dogs, they went ahead and shot the dogs. The Rural Council of New South Wales. So kill the dogs so people can't travel a little bit to go pick up these dogs that need a home. That's the
rescue. It's a shelter for these dogs. They executed the dogs. And I don't know why it's not scrolling. Maybe it'll just catch up with this in a minute. Basically, the long and short of it is they didn't want the folks traveling, breaking lockdown, to go pick up animals or rescue them. So, and that would, of course, spread. And they decided to take this course of action to prevent its employees and community, including the vulnerable Aboriginal populations, from the risk of the COVID-19 transmission. And then it was weird, because this is the line that just got me, was a spokesman additionally said officials were investigating whether any animal cruelty rules were broken. They shot and freaking killed the dogs, and you're telling me you're questioning animal cruelty. Alex, do we have enough duct tape to hold our heads together when this is the insanity that we're dealing with?
No, I don't have enough. This is you shot the dog. You. I don't understand how these people think they're on the good side, like, and not the evil side by doing what they did right there. I can't even imagine how what your mental process is to think that shooting the dog. Can't you just close? Like, can't you just not open then and just leave the dogs alive for a couple weeks until this whole thing subsides and you can, like, how is that the solution? And again, these people work for the SB or not SPCA, but they work for a place that you would think that they actually love the animals. So how could they be the ones that actually pull the trigger?
I thought the same thing, and my lovely wife, the first lady, pointed out that PETA is known to euthanize at least 3/4 of their animals, so it's not as though PETA actually is any better. And I'm like, oh, that's a good point. I forgot about that. So yeah, this is nuts. Yeah, we're killing dogs. We're arresting old white Karens, protesting. I mean, screaming from helicopters. And this is, again, I go back to, this isn't like, this is really what we thought we would see from, for me, I thought we had the China thing. And then once it started to spread, I thought, well, this is what we're going to see in Russia. This is what we're going to see maybe in another authoritarian Asian country that's being overwhelmed or something like that. And even in the EU, I thought, well, man, Italy was so bad. London was so bad, the shutdowns. And I thought, well, after a while, these people will eventually start getting crazy. Australia wasted no time. And I think part of it is it just the realization, Bob, do you think that they look at the numbers like we do and they're like, well, listen, no one's dying. And there's only like 1,000 cases, but there's more people dying on the freeway than there's dying from COVID.
Yeah, well, it's what's being fed from the national government and what's being fed from the majority of the media in Australia. And, you know, is there any reason would there be any reason to be surprised if you don't see this kind of activity elsewhere? Right. Australia is supposed to be a, civilized nation, and look how they're acting. There's actually a pretty interesting tweet from some person that's in Australia, and he just did a couple bullet points. He says, Army deployed to enforce lockdown. Mothers fined $1,000 for talking outdoors. Police patrolling kids' playgrounds. Building a quarantine camp. Don't like it? Citizens are banned from leaving the country. If you protest, police shoot you with rubber bullets. So, yeah.
I heard there was also like a free speech crackdown where they're going to start surveying if you're even talking about protesting. I'm not sure I didn't really haven't spent the energy to validate that. I will say Sky News has done a great job. Sky News they're off the cliff and they're done. They've checked out to all of the insane media stuff. I've seen a lot of the headlines and stuff coming out of Sky News and they've been great. The stuff they're saying is just like, whoa, yep, they're good. They're with us. They've checked out. Alex, where does this go? Does Australia just keep spiraling further and further into this? There's no end as far as I can see as an end in sight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really familiar too much when it comes to the thought process behind Australians, but I mean, this can't continue. These people can't be locked into their homes forever. They're going to have to let them out eventually. And, I think this is the one part that I really wish governments would have done. I mean, of course, they're not going to do this because they're all interested in just control. But what I wish they would have done is just explain to people that these viruses are going to make it through the population. Here's what you can do to mitigate it. And ultimately, if you want to get the vaccine, you can get the vaccine. But I think if they would have taken that approach and like really tried to just inform the public, I think A, they would have got a better response. B, I don't think it would have been done politically. And I think people would have been much more receptive to taking care of one another, because people were, in the beginning of this, and at least in the United States, people were staying home before they made masks, before they had mandates, or before they closed things down. People were instinctively staying at home because people want to take care. Nobody wants to die. So, but where it goes from here, though, I really don't know, because, I mean, it seems like they're cracking down even more. And it's almost like a battle of wills at this point. Like, are people going to give up all the way, or are they going to say that's enough and just just leave their house? Because that's what it is. I mean, now the act of defiance is going outside. Like the act of defiance is getting smaller and smaller and smaller each time.
Bob, obviously, Outbreak News Today. It's your baby, editor in chief. And where else do we have hotbed stuff that we should kind of keep an eye on? Another area that's going to flare up like this, or maybe something within our own border that you think is, I mean, this is just the, it's just brewing. It's just brewing.
Well, I think we're seeing the beginning from Kate Brown. I think it was yesterday. If you're not familiar with her, she's the governor of Oregon. She has instituted outdoor mask mandates in Oregon. Yeah. So, even if you're vaccinated.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So,
so I will